What's going on, Freedom Fit family? I can't say it's shot here with another video, but it's shot here with his first live stream. My bad, I know I told y'all 8 o'clock, but this is my first live stream, so I didn't even know I had to set the orientation of my phone because I had everything set up like just how like side like the horizontal way, and it was only letting me go live vertical. I'm like, nah, that messed up my setup, all these different things. So I appreciate y'all patience as you come in. Go ahead and like the video. And today, in today's video, we're going to talk about the different spirits that we entertain through sexual perversion, as well as different sexual acts that are sin that we may not consider. You know, we all grew up in the world. We all grew up in today's culture, and things that we kind of see or have, taken as normal. As we grow spiritually, we learn that we may have been mistaken. So I just hope to help and edify anybody who can benefit from this. Now I got to figure out how to see the chat. I can't even see the chat. Let me see. Hold up. Right over here. Chat viewing options. Hold up. It's just such a potential may not be visible. All messages are visible. Remember to go. All right, cool. All right, there we go. All right, what's up, Candace? What's up? Candace is in the building. Appreciate that. Can you hear me good? Can you hear me through the mic? Make sure this is good. Okay, cool. Yes, I can hear you good. All right, bet. All right, so tonight we're going to get into everything I just said. So before I move forward, it's important to know the power of dreams, right? Sometimes we think that dreams are just here for our entertainment, or like, man, that was crazy. Like, this happened in my dream, and man, like, that was just a wild one. But I strongly encourage you all to write down your dreams, because God does everything for a reason, and your dreams are included. So anything that he does is because he wants you to know something, which is why I have written here, which I don't know if y'all could even see it that good because I wrote in red. I might write in black or blue next time. But hey, this is what we got for right now. The reason why I have this written here is because throughout the Bible, we see that God made covenants through dreams. He made covenants with Abraham. He made covenants with Solomon, which we'll get into later, right? There's some foreshadowing that can happen. I've experienced that personally, where literally God has given me a dream, and then the next day he shows me what the purpose of that dream was. He can speak through other people and use that as a form of letting you know what this dream is all about, or what he wants you to know. It might just be a life circumstance or something that happens and you're like, wow, that's crazy, and you could put it all together. But if we don't write our dreams down, we'll never be able to make that connection, right? So as soon as you wake up, because we know how quick dreams fade, as quick as they're here is as quick as they're gone. So even if you're tired, like, you could put a voice memo, just speak it into your phone and say a few things so that you remember your dreams. Okay, so warnings as well. There's warnings that can occur through dreams, and dreams also reveal the thoughts of the heart. So sometimes there might be something that needs to be revealed about yourself in the spirit that you don't know of yet, that you don't know that could be a cause of some form of detriment or suffering in your life. And God can reveal that to you. And that actually ties in to what I'm gonna speak about today, because I'm gonna share my dream with you all as we get into the topic. Because if I'm not transparent, I can't help anybody, right? I can't help anyone if I'm kind of cutting corners with the message that God gives me. So dreams could definitely reveal thoughts of the heart. And yeah, so make sure y'all also like the live stream. I'm gonna pull up this dream right now though, because I actually printed it out. And we're gonna actually go into the Testament of Solomon, right? If you go into the Bible, someone could put this verse in the chat if they want. If you go into the Bible, you'll see that the book of the Acts of Solomon is detailed in the Bible. But when you look it up, you can't find it. The closest thing to that is reputable, it's a commonly reputable, where there's been worth and value attributed to this book, is the Testament of Solomon. So I'll show y'all this book, the Testament of Solomon. So I'm going to actually read from this after I break down my dream, because it all connects. And this is ways that God will show you things in the spirit. You may have questions about something, you might question the validity of that book, but God will let you know everything you need to know. He gave me undeniable confirmation prior to even finding this book and even after finding the book. So this is why we must worship God in spirit and in truth, right? So when we worship him in spirit, we have a relationship with him in spirit, and we can learn how he communicates, right? We can hear his voice. We can notice little signs he gives us, so on and so forth, right? Okay, and this dream that I'm gonna read, it occurred on July 27, 2025. So today's the 15th, so that's about 2.5 weeks ago, And God gave me the interpretation exactly 7 days later. We know that 7 is a very popular number in the Bible. Okay, but without further ado, I'm gonna break this down. In this part of the dream, someone from my past and I were in the bed together. I was hugging up on her, kissing her, and sucking on her breast. I'm gonna just tell y'all how it was. It just is what it is, because y'all probably had some crazy dreams as well. Holding her tight and squeezing her tight. Then I stopped because I knew that I shouldn't do this and that spiritually it shouldn't happen. Now, why did I say spiritually it shouldn't happen? Because in the law, God says that once a man and a woman separate and that woman has someone else enter into her, well then at that point, that former husband can never go back into her. So, knowing that, I don't know that, I haven't talked to this person in years, but last I checked, they were in the world. So in the dream, I know that you've obviously been with other people. There's no need for me to lay with you, right? That's what I meant when I said spiritually it shouldn't happen. So to continue on. So I got out of the bed and I went to my desk. My desk was facing the opposite way that it does now. It was toward the bedroom. So the desk in my apartment is facing away from my bedroom typically. In the dream, my desk is facing the actual bedroom, right? The chair that I was sitting on was on the opposite side of where my chair typically is as well. There was a desk in front of me, but it wasn't the exact one that I have now. It was more of a regular desk, no extra design or theatrics to it. Then the person that I was with came out naked and was walking into the kitchen. I stopped her because I wanted her again. So I started grabbing, sucking, and kissing her body. I turned her around to bend her over and do some things to her from behind. Now listen, guys, I told you we're gonna be transparent. I told you. Now, I'm not gonna say verbatim, but you could use your imagination. In the dream, and this is just, the dream is given to me, so there's no shame in what is in the dream. But in the dream, I was turning her around to put my mouth in places it shouldn't be. So use your imagination on that. She was trying to stop me, saying, hold on, wait, hold on. I want to show you something. But I ignored her and kept going. It was a tactic she was using to get me to stop, most likely because she didn't want me to see what I would see next. Then once I turned her around, I saw some big red thing on the left side of her back, from her shoulder coming all the way down, almost to her waist. I asked her, what was that? After I asked her, I could then see the thing more clearly. And it was a big red dragon in very fine detail that was tattooed down the left side of her back. It was a very demonic tattoo. And I'm gonna pause right here. Guys, I said this in a video a little while back, but you have to pay attention to everything that you see in life. Dragons specifically, in any form of reptilian thing. So whether it's a tattoo on someone or whatever the case may be, if you're getting different reptilian type of animals in your dream often, or even one time, you have to look into, you have to at least consider what that could mean, right? Because that's not for no reason. In the Bible, the dragon is used to deceive. Even in the Apocrypha, in the story Bel and the Dragon with Daniel and the king of Babylon at that time, the dragon was used to deceive. That's what it represents, right? So there could be some form of deception going on if you see that in whatever form you see it in. So in this dream though, I'm like, this is a very demonic tattoo. I remembered it was red. It was very fine detail. You couldn't mistake it. And it just looked crazy. It just looked demonic, right? At that moment, I knew without question that she was demonic. She got up and turned around and told me that she got this tattoo because she likes to try new things and have new experiences. It was a BS response, and I knew something was up at that moment. So then I asked her, have you ever done witchcraft or anything like that? And she said, oh yes, I've always done that, all throughout my childhood, all throughout the time that we were together. And then she said that she's read the Quran and she's read the Kabbalion. And at that moment, I knew she was such a demon that I was with this whole time. Now, y'all should look into the Kabbalion, Kybalion. It's a very demonic book, right? So I also want to say this too. The crazy thing is, this really highlights how connected our dreams are to our waking hours, right? Don't think the dreams are just some fantasy or just some separate life, some separate world. The night before, well, not, I'll say the evening before I actually went to sleep and had this dream, someone that I know who does witchcraft that I know from years ago reached out to me. Haven't heard from the person in a long time. They reached out to me and I know they're involved with witchcraft. I didn't respond, nothing like that, just deleted the message. But it's very interesting that that night I would have this dream and I would even, or the person would tell me in the dream that they did witchcraft. Like all this stuff is connected, but we have to write our dreams down to really understand this. Okay, and at that moment, I knew she was such a demon that I was with this whole time. She also had a smaller, questionable tattoo on the front of her body by her left shoulder area. I don't remember what it was, but it was something questionable. However, the dragon tattoo sealed the deal. So I went to sit down on a chair that was across from her. The dream was in my current apartment and she was standing in the kitchen area between where my island would be and the front door. I was sitting directly across from her in a chair. It wasn't my current recliner. It wasn't catty cornered. It was directly across from her. So in my apartment, which I'm not about to show y'all right now, but there's the recliner I sit in is catty corner and I can see like a certain area of the apartment. But in this dream, it wasn't my recliner. I was in a chair facing the kitchen, right? And she's in the kitchen. Now the island that's in my kitchen wasn't there, but I just know the position she was in and I'm looking directly at her, right? At this point, I'm not even listening to what she's saying. I'm looking at her, but I'm looking through her. I'm not even paying attention to her words because I figured it all out, right? The Most High revealed some powerful things in this dream. So I went to sit down on a chair that was across from her. The dream was in my current apartment. And by the way, when I woke up from this dream, y'all could probably already imagine. I was rebuking every spirit. I was, you know, I was cleaning house. I was making sure that I was good. And I want to say this too. This dream also shows how close Satan could be. Now, Satan could only do things that God allows him to do. But his spirit, right, his influence, if God allows him, he can literally be right next to you in a dream. Now, as you all know or should know, I don't promote fear. I don't focus on Satan. I focus on the Most High. But when we know how the evil spirits operate, it can increase our discernment because otherwise we can be deceived. It talks about, I want to say in Matthew 24:24, it talks about how even the elect could be deceived if it was possible. But the reason why it's not possible is because they have high discernment. They can decipher between the two because even Satan appears as an angel of light, right? So if we are aware of evil spirits, not to the point where we worship them with our thoughts by thinking of them, moving in fear, that's what they would love. But we're aware of them and know that we have the authority over them. So when we encounter certain things, our discernment can be high as to who this is coming from and what's the purpose behind what has been revealed to me or what's going on in this situation, right? But let's get back to the dream. I was sitting directly across from her in a chair. It wasn't my current recliner and it wasn't catty corner. It was directly across from her. I was looking at her and evaluating her as she was speaking, and there was something else or someone else to the left of me, and I can't remember what it was. It was an alive creature though. I want to say a small human, almost like a mini person. Like it was her buddy that came with her, someone on her team, likely a demon that goes with her everywhere she goes. Mind you guys, I wrote all this stuff down before even cracking open the part of the Testament of Solomon that I'm going to read to you guys. But remember everything that I'm saying. And in this dream, I can see this creature in my peripheral. Like it's not right in front of me. I'm focused on the person I'm focused on, but I see to the left of me a creature. It looks like a little hobbit that I think that's Lord of the Rings it would be in, right? Those little hobbits. It was a very small creature. But I looked her dead in the face. Now I'm back at the person I'm talking to, right? Or that I'm evaluating. But I looked her dead in the face and I said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ. I said it firmly and authoritatively. It was an aha moment. I figured it out and I knew all that I needed to know. She was exposed. When I said this, she had a look on her face like, no, with panic. So in the dream when I did it, I'm looking and like you just waiting for that moment. Like she's talking. I'm like, mm-hmm. And I just already knew what it was. I was like, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ. And her face was like, and she just ran out the apartment, right? But let me not get too ahead of myself because I'm gonna say that in the dream. But I just want y'all to understand it, right? So you can picture it all. When I said this, she had a look on her face like no, with panic. And I was gonna say it again, but then she ran out of the house and whatever was with her ran out as well. I also realized that when I tried to say it a second time before she actually left, I couldn't say it anymore. I wasn't able to. It wasn't able to come out of my mouth. I was being restrained, like something was making me unable to speak, which was demonic, right? So that right there let me know how close Satan could be. Again, not in a way to be spooked and all this stuff, but understanding that if we open ourselves up to certain spirits by doing certain things that are against the Most High, you make yourself vulnerable to a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, a lot of torture, a lot of misfortune in your life, right? So that's really what the takeaway should be about with this. But also check this out, and I want to say this too. Who else will restrain me from saying the name Jesus Christ, right? So we know who it was. But it also highlights the power in the name, right? Now, y'all know I say Yeshua HaMashiach, the Hebrew, Yeshua is essentially his real name. It's the original name. But trust me, God knows what you mean if you do say Jesus Christ, because I've said it for other things and there's power in that name and I've seen things be done. Not only this dream, things in my waking hours, right? I'm not going to say my real life because dreams are very real. So in my waking hours, I've experienced these same things where that name has power. But if you ask me what you should say, what I prefer is Yeshua HaMashiach, because we want to get as close to the root as possible and say things accurately, right? Go ahead and like the live stream, y'all. But I was being restrained like something was making me unable to speak, which was demonic, but I wanted to keep saying it with authority. After she left, I opened the door to make sure she was gone, and there was a lady standing in front of my door looking forward with black hair, and her hair was down. I couldn't see her face, only the back of her head and slightly the side of her head, but I couldn't see any face, only black hair that was straight in texture and down. She was shorter than me. She was standing in front of the door to the point where I couldn't open the door fully. So I go out to see if that person completely left, right? So I go to open the door and it's blocked because there's a lady standing there, right? And I only could see this side of her. I can only see the side. So I open it. I'm like, what is blocking it? And I look and literally, like I just described, I see like the back of her head and somewhat towards the side. And her hair is very long, right? And she's just standing looking forward. I opened it almost halfway and she was there and her body was blocking the door. So if I would have opened it all the way, it would have pushed her or moved her out the way. This was someone different than the small entity that was in my apartment. The person at the door was taller than what was in my house as well. She was also clearly a woman, but the entity in my house was more like a creature, a demon. She was also not a woman of modern day. She had a cloak on that came down, almost like something from Lord of the Rings. She was a woman from older times, possibly representing an ancient spirit. So I was going to say, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ to the lady at the door, but I still was not able to say it. I was looking at her and wanted to say it in my mind very urgently. The fact that I wanted to say it means that I knew in the dream that she was evil. And at that moment, I was woken up out of my dream. So that's the dream right there, guys. And we're going to go deeper into some biblical things based on everything I have written here. But what if I didn't write that dream down? What if I would have woke up and said, oh, that's crazy, and I just forgot about it? I wouldn't have been able to connect the things that I'm going to connect right now, right? God rewards you for being obedient, for your intention of seeking him and following through on that. And guys, put in the chat some things that stood out to you about what I read. Anything that stood out to you. I don't know why it doesn't let me view the chat. This is crazy. I got to really learn this thing and figure it out, because it's saying, okay, there we go. All right, cool, there we go. All right, yes, I can hear you good. We love transparency. Dreams are spiritual. Absolutely, dreams are spiritual. Dreams are definitely spiritual. They're very spiritual. What stood out to you, Candace? All right, so now we're going to actually dip into some things in the Bible first. And in this dream, this is an example how God revealed thoughts of my heart. He foreshadowed. He let me know something I would figure out. And I want to mention this too. So I've been sexually fasted for 5 weeks now, right? God is rewarding that obedience. It's very important and powerful to fast. I made a recent post about fasting. I think it's titled something like "Why You Must Fast." There's a couple of shorts I posted about it, but it's important for us to fast. We must fast because it's very spiritual. It's a way to humble yourself and deny yourself and grow closer to the Most High. He rewards that humility, right? And through fasting, he will bring you to higher spiritual levels. This is an example of the Most High working in real time, right? But keeping everything I shared in mind regarding the dream, we're going to read 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 31. Guys, feel free to take out a pen and paper, write things down, pull out your Bible. Let's go through this stuff together. All right, let me check the chat real quick. I don't know. Hold up. Okay. Why does it keep making me do this? All right. All right, so 1 Kings 4:31. 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 31. First Kings chapter 4, verse 31. Now this is referring to, well, actually I'll go 30 and then 31. I'll read 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 30 and then 31. And Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the children of the east country and all the wisdom of Egypt, for he was wiser than all men, than Ethan the Ezrahite and Heman and Calcol and Darda, the sons of Mahol, and his fame was in all nations round about. Now, why am I reading this? Because it's important to know that God blessed Solomon with exceptional wisdom. He was wiser than any other man on the earth. And part of Solomon's wisdom was that God let him know about every single spirit, every single demon, every single evil spirit that is behind different levels of suffering, different events that happen in the world. He made him aware of all that, but also made him aware of the angels that have rulership over those evil spirits. Because again, we know the Most High has the first and last say about all things. Now we're going to go to 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 5 through 15. 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 5 through 15. In Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night. In a what? He appeared to Solomon in a dream by night. And this is where we're going to see a covenant be made. And God said, ask what I shall give thee. And Solomon said, thou hast showed unto thy servant David, my father, great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne as it is this day. And now, O Lord my God, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father. And I am but a child. I know not how to go out or come in. And thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people? And the speech pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. And God said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked riches for thyself, nor asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment, behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and an understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any rise like unto thee. Guys, keep this in mind. This is all happening in a dream, but this carried out in real life. God really blessed Solomon with this, right? That shows you how close the Most High not only can be to you, but is to you throughout all of your waking hours. He says, I'm with you everywhere you go, right? So that's why we can't pull a fast one on the Most High. He knows our thoughts. He gives us dreams. To give me a dream, you have to be inside of the spirit of my mind. You have to be inside, right? There's so many things that the Most High does to show he knows your thoughts, and God responds to thoughts. I want to say that too. Keep in mind, like, how you're thinking on a regular basis, right? Because I forget the verse. If you guys know the verse, put it in the chat. But I want to say it's in Peter, but where it speaks about whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are of a good report. If there's any virtue, think on these things. A virtue is a moralistic behavior. So to God, thoughts are behaviors. We can't see each other's thoughts, but God can see your thoughts. Whatever your thoughts are, he's going to respond to that. You have to be aware of this. That's another way to show obedience, reverence, and worship to the Most High. What does it say in Proverbs? The thoughts of foolishness are sin. Why? Because thoughts are an action before God. Okay, but now we are in verse 13 of 1 Kings chapter 5. And I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor, so that there shall not be any among the kings like unto thee all thy days. And if thou wilt walk in my ways to keep my statutes and my commandments, as thy father David did walk, then I will lengthen thy days. And Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And he came to Jerusalem and stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and offered up burnt offerings and offered peace offerings, and made a feast to all his servants. Candace said, what stood out to me the most was how strong your discernment was. You were able to discern you were speaking to a spirit. Philippians 4:8. Yep. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. Now we're going to get into the Testament of Solomon. Some of you may have this book. Some of you may not. But the Testament of Solomon. Okay. Now, if you remember the things in my dream, remember that there was somebody there. There was a demon that was with them, right? All these different things. The sexual act that I attempted to do, right? I attempted to turn the woman around and put my mouth in places. Not even the place you would typically think to put it where you turn them around. So again, use your imagination. That's what was going on in this dream, right? And then I didn't do that. I know that that was my thought to do it. But as the person turned around, I saw the dragon tattoo, right? And all the things that I had shared, that she's into witchcraft. She said, I read the Kabbalion, I read the Quran, all these different things, right? So keep all this in mind. So we're going to the Testament of Solomon, verse 60 through 63. I'm pointing to this. You're probably like, I can't see it. Hopefully y'all could, but from my view, I feel like the red might be too bright. Actually, type it up. Type it up. Can y'all see this? Can y'all see the words or not? The Testament of Solomon, verse 60 through 63. Verse 60 through 63. And I again, now let me actually, before I read this, this is now Solomon is having the spirits revealed to him, right? He's sitting down or he's standing up, however he's positioned, but he's having every demon be presented to him, and they are forced to reveal who they are and break down what they're responsible for, what they do, right? Also, they are instructed to let Solomon know what angel has rulership over them, right? This is also helpful for deliverance. I'll just be honest. Like when you read this book, you'll see. And yes, I followed, like, when I had that dream or after I had it, I of course rebuked everything in the name of Yeshua, all this stuff. But I asked God to send his angel, and I asked for this specific one. And I've been good. I can only give y'all my personal testimony. I've been good. I've been good. So the Testament of Solomon, verse 60 through 63. And I again ordered another demon to come before me, and the came rolling itself along, one in appearance like to a dragon. This demon was in the appearance of a dragon, but having the face and hands of a man, and all its limbs except the feet were those of a dragon. And it had wings on its back. And when I beheld it, I was astonished, which means just astonished. This is just older language. And said, Who art thou, demon? And what art thou called? And whence hast thou come? Tell me. And the spirit answered and said, This is the first time I have stood before thee, O King Solomon. I am a spirit made into a god among men, but now brought to naught by the ring and wisdom vouchsafed to thee by God. Now I am the so-called winged dragon, and I chamber not with many women, but only with a few that are of a fair shape, which possess the name of Zuli of this star. So this demon doesn't even leap on to everybody. It leaps onto women with a fair shape, right? Which means a nice shape. What is praised in society and culture today? Women cutting up their body, throwing implants and all type of things in there to do what? To appear like a god, lowercase g, just like this demon drives them to do. It says, I only latch on to women of a fair shape, of a very nice body type is what that means. So Satan always has to use some form of bait, some form of thing that is appealing to you so that the likeliness that you bite at that thing is higher. If it's something that you don't care about, you're not going to pay it any attention, right? So that's very key, right? And Zuli, which possessed the name of Zuli of this star. So Zuli is a star that is associated with this demon. So when you consider zodiac signs, all that stuff is witchcraft, right? Now, we know that God made the stars and the planets, but worshiping them, that's an age-old practice. The Babylonians did that. Many other wicked kings essentially did that. They worshiped the stars and the planets. Okay, I'm going to continue. And I pair with them in the guise of a spirit winged in form. So the spirit, the way the spirit actually looks in the spiritual realm is it's winged in form. Now, the name of it is Coitum habens pernates, right? I'm going to show you all this, and I'm going to look it up. You probably can't see. Maybe y'all could. Coitum, right there. This name, right there, too. So I pair with these women in the guise of a spirit winged in form. Coitum habens pernates. We're going to look that up and see what that means. And she on whom I have leaped goes heavy with child, and that which is born of her becomes Eros, E-R-O-S. Eros, when you look it up, what it means lust, right? So the child born of this woman that has this winged dragon paired with her is called Eros, and Eros is lust. So lust is born inside of this person. This is also what I was talking about when I said the spirits that we pair with. You not knowing who this person is, you not testing the spirit, you just being in the world and become one flesh with somebody. Now you have these spirits attached to you, joining to you, having your eye be a certain way, meaning what your intentions are, what you're intending to do with the opposite sex, right? You're tortured, you're suffering because of the thoughts in your mind, right? There's all these perversions you want to do and take part in now, right? Because you don't know where this even came from. But a person can have a certain spirit attached to them. And now because you have involved yourself with that person, because Paul says whoever joins himself to a harlot is a harlot, right? And that's sin against your body. So now you don't really perceive it this way, but now you're out in your day-to-day life, you go into the store, going to the gym, you're going wherever you're going, and you pair, you connect with different people that have a like spirit. You don't know why. Like, it could be a similar body type, it could be just a person that has a certain, I don't like to use the word vibe, but you guys, a certain spirit to them essentially. And you connect with the same type of people. You look for the same things in a type of person, right? Because that spirit has now paired with you. And you can't see it in the spiritual realm per se, right? You might not be able to see it in the physical realm. Like if you have eyes to see, you can see spirits on people. So, let's get that. I want to make that clear. But in the invisible, in the spiritual realm, things are happening. There's a reason why this person wants to come talk to you. There's a reason why you want to talk to somebody else. There's a reason why y'all both in the same place at the same time. Everything is intentional, right? From your dreams to everything that happens in your waking hours. Okay. And she on whom I have leaped goes heavy with child, and that which is born of her becomes Eros. But since such offspring cannot be carried by men, the woman in question breaks wind. So she's always like, her ways can't really be figured out. She's always kind of secretive. She's always on the go, very confusing with her words not lining up with her actions, right? She doesn't want you to figure out her ways. She doesn't want to be captured. She doesn't want to have you figure her out, essentially. There's never going to be steadiness. There's never going to be clarity in that situation. There will be confusion because that spirit causes her to do that. And it may cause you to be like that as a man if it leaped into you. But since such offspring cannot be carried by men, the woman in question breaks wind. Such is my role. So this spirit makes her do this. Suppose then only that I am satisfied, and all the other demons molested and disturbed by thee will speak the whole truth. So basically this demon is saying, I'm the head demon. If I'm pleased, then all of the other demons will follow suit. So since I'm speaking to you, Solomon, they'll speak to you as well. But those composed of fire will cause to be burned up by fire, the material of the logs which is to be collected by them for the building in the temple. And as the demon said this, I saw the spirit going forth from his mouth. Now check that out. In the spirit, this demon is a male. It says his mouth, but it pairs with the female, right? Just like how God is Father, Son, Holy Spirit, all referred to as a man in the spirit. These demons are identified as males as well, but they're latching on to females. They're latching on to individual people and specific people for specific reasons, right? And we have to, I got to just say this, because it's also mentioned in another section of the Testament of Solomon and throughout the Bible. The fact of the matter is everyone that you meet is not a physical person. They're not a real person per se. There's people who are just literally used for spirits because the spirits come down and transform themselves into people. Like, I know that may sound a little far out for some people. Other people know what I'm talking about, but just understand that everything is spirit. And though you see someone physically, there's a lot you may not see that's behind that physical appearance. And the way that Satan likes to work and his evil spirits is they come to you at times that are it's very timely. It's very intentional as to when they show up, why they show up, what they may say to you. It may line up with something you were just thinking earlier today. I'm not saying that everyone is wicked, but again, for discernment's sake, have that in the forefront of your mind that you're dealing with spirits. You're not dealing with people per se. Or I should just say mainly, we're all spirits. And you want to have the Holy Spirit in you, right? Not any evil spirits. I saw the spirit going forth from his mouth, and it consumed the wood of the frankincense tree and burned up all the logs which we had placed in the temple of God. And I, Solomon, saw what the spirit had done, and I marveled. So I want you to put in the chat any connections that you all noticed to what Solomon shared, as well as the dream that I shared. What are some connections that you noticed? I'm going to share the ones that I noticed. So the fact that the person had a dragon tattoo, right? Oh, matter of fact, before I get into that, we got to look up this demon. We got to look up this spirit, right? We got to look up the spirit, coitum habens, let me get it. Coitum habens something. The spirit by the name of coitum habens pernates, right? Coitum habens pernates. We'll pull it up. Like the video, guys. Okay. Check this out right here. The phrase coitum habens pernates, translated from Latin or English as having sexual intercourse through the buttocks. I told y'all in the dream where my mouth was trying to go. It didn't go there, but there's a reason why everything happened in the dream, right? There's a reason why. And all of these sexual perversions are essentially sin. And we have to know these things because there's a lot of things that people who are viewing and people in the world could be involved in and not know that there's certain judgments for things that we do sexually, right? So the connections that I've made is one, when I turned the woman around, I saw the dragon tattoo and y'all know what I was trying to do in the dream. Now, in the Testament of Solomon, the spirit pairs with fair women, right? And it also brings on coitum habens per nabes, if I'm saying that right, right? And when it does that, it births lust into that person, right? So they're going to be doing all types of sexual perversions because it's the spirit in them that is driving them to do that in a dragon-shaped form, right? Even the fact that it says the child that it births is eros, which means lust. I mentioned that not only did I see all these things on that person, the dragon tattoo, the sexual act, the witchcraft that the person said they're into, right? But there was also a demon to the left of me. There was a little creature to the left of me. That was lust. That was the child that she birthed because she can't have physical children, right? So we also have to be aware of, I gotta watch what I say. You know, I don't want to say things that could be trigger words, but it starts with an A, right? And it's become a movement, you know, pro-choice, as people call it, and stuff like that. We got to be careful of those things because that can bring spirits into your life. And, you know, there's some things I'll elaborate on that will also connect to that topic right there. But I've also noticed that if this is not all the time, so women don't get mad. I'm not saying that this is the case, but this particular person that I knew, there was a challenge with birthing children, right? That could be because even in the Testament of Solomon, it explains that she doesn't have children born of men because she has a child with her that is this spiritual demon that is the child. And that demon is driving the person to do these things. So the demon's like, we don't got time for that. We don't have time to be bringing no natural children in here, right? I'm already here and I need you to fulfill my will. Now, again, everyone could be delivered, but we have to want to be delivered. We have to know what we're delivered from. We have to be able to identify and point to these spirits and understand what's taking place, right? So I just want to say that because someone may be able to benefit from it. Like, we got to pay attention to those different things and know the different layers of these spirits. But yeah, those were many of the connections. Even the fact, like I said, the witchcraft from the person that reached out to witchcraft being mentioned in the dream. Now, even the person that was waiting outside the door, right? Even the person that waited outside of my apartment door, that stood out to me. And there's another section in the Testament of Solomon that speaks about three. It's a spirit that comes in three. And there were relations to everything I shared in the dream that connected to what that section was talking about. But I don't want to overwhelm with too much information right now. That might be another stream for another day, because I want to keep it concrete with these connections we have here. But the fact that that person was there was like almost like, if you agree with these spirits, then something like almost a guard could happen. That person was acting as if they were a guard to my home to make sure that almost nothing of a good spirit would come in, or if it did, kind of like the evil spirits would be on alert. Because this person, from my interpretation of it all, represents an ancient spirit, some form of ancient deity that was in cahoots with the other two that were in my apartment. We know the number 3 is in the Bible as well, all throughout the Bible. So, yeah, those are a lot of the connections I made. So if you guys have any additional connections, go ahead and put that in the chat. Go ahead and put that in the chat. Candace said, we can zoom in to read the board. I don't know why, but the camera has everything flipped. We would be reading your board from right to left. Really? See, this is what I'm talking about. I gotta learn I gotta learn certain things. I gotta learn certain things about live streaming. So it has it flipped. That's interesting. I'm glad you told me that. All right, it is what it is though. Next. Well, I have some of the things that I wanted to actually break down right here. So I have written here, people can carry demons. These are some of the interpretations from the dream. People can carry demons. A spirit of lust, that's a demon. Sexual perversions is what that spirit will cause you to do. There's covenants made. When we do things that are outside of the original way that the Most High designed sex to be, we're making covenants, we're making agreements, we're worshiping and devoting ourselves to evil deities, because those spirits are what cause you to want to do it. So now when I act it out, who am I revering? Who am I worshiping by doing that? I'm not worshiping the Most High, because these things pervert his actual design for sex, the purpose for sex, and all these different things, right? A lot of the perversions that we can think of took place during these whoredoms that occurred with the Israelites and other nations when they joined themselves to other nations, right? So in these ways, where we're doing things that we may have been taught is okay or grew up doing, that we think is okay, it's actually a way to revere evil deities, right? Through the sexual acts that we may commit. And you can attract these spirits to you based on what spirits are in yourself. Or if you just don't have a high level of discernment and you join yourself with someone who has some type of spirit that, is based in sexual perversion. And we must break these covenants. So you guys can do self-deliverance. You can call the specific things out. You may not know what's their per se spiritual name, meaning you might not know, okay, it's this demon or this evil spirit or whatever. Call it out just how you're led to call it out. Identify it the best way you can, because the Most High knows what you're talking about. He knows what you're dealing with. Just like the example I said earlier, where yes, we want to call Christ Yeshua HaMashiach, but if you say Jesus Christ, God also knows who you're talking about. Maybe you don't know his Hebrew name, but God knows who you're talking about, so he'll respond to that. Now, when you know better, you do better, obviously. So even the fact of how sex has been pretty much treated like a sport, right? We watch different DVDs, videos on our phone, laptops growing up, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. We've watched DVDs and have pleasured ourselves, right? These things taught us that sex is a sport. So we don't even look at, I'm speaking from a man's perspective. We don't even, like, if we're in the world and don't know any better, we're not always looking at a woman with the sense of purpose in mind and building a family and what is the quality of this woman? What can she bring to my family? How can she support me as a man on my journey? in everything that the Most High is leading me to do? What is her character? What is her uh, feminine, like what is her, how can she be a great helpmeet in life, right? We don't consider all those things. We just only look at the physical. Is there anything wrong with being attracted to somebody? Absolutely not. But if that's all we're looking at and we have no consideration of the purpose and we're thinking of all these things we can do with her body only, treating sex as a sport, well then right there, we know that comes from the programming we had. We know that's gonna lead us to do many perversions, right? So just keep that stuff in mind. And I'm sharing all these things so we can start to identify lust, right? I did a video on interracial marriage, right? Now, I'm not going to digress into that. You guys can check out the video titled, What Does God Think About Interracial Marriage, right? It's not, and when I say this, I'll just say this again because I brought up the topic. Race is a man-made concept, right? When we consider interracial marriage, what I'm really saying is the nation of Israel compared to the Gentiles, right? The Gentiles have many different nations by different names. The Israelites are the Israelites. They're a nation in themselves. They look a certain way. God chose them for his purpose. He molded them to be a holy people unto him, right? They're different than all other people. So we see accounts in the Bible where because someone's faith was excessively high, I don't want to say excessive because there's no such thing as excessive faith. Since their faith was high, right? They had high integrity with their faith. God had chose for certain men to pair with Gentile women. We know Abraham had a Canaanitish wife. We know Moses had an Ethiopian wife. We know Moses also had a Midianitish wife. But the Midianitish woman, her father was a pastor or a priest. That's more accurate to say. He was a priest of the Lord, right? So, and it was of the Most High God, though he was Midianitish. So we know that his daughter, who he gave to Moses, was a holy woman because God wouldn't even let Moses be with a woman that wasn't holy because he gave Moses the law. So, we go on and on and on. We know Ruth, who was a Moabitess, was married to Boaz, who was a man of Judah and is the great-grandfather of David. So when the faith was there, yes. But honestly, let's say we have an Israelite man and an Israelite woman, right? And you have a Gentile man and a Gentile woman, right? Let's say it's 2 and 2. Even with everything I'm saying, let's say all 4 of them were righteous, right? Before that Israelite man pairs with the Gentile, God would want the Israelite to pair with the Israelite first, like in a typical scenario, let's say, right? Rather than, okay, have the Israelite woman be with the Gentile man and let the Gentile woman be with the Israelite man. Like, even though they all have faith, if you really read the book of Jubilees, chapter 30, you'll see what I'm saying. Because initially, to intermarry, for the Israelites to get with other nations, that was a sin. So the only thing, and it was a sin punishable by death. So in the Bible, the only time we see this happen is when a woman had a certain level of faith. Now, we know that in God's kingdom, there will be many kindreds, tongues, and nations. Salvation has been extended to the Gentiles. So we know that there are Gentile people that will make it into everlasting life. But if we're going to the foundation, God would like Israel to continue to reproduce and make Israel richer, to continue to allow Israel to spread, abound throughout the earth. So again, it's God's will. It's not my will as far as who he has you marry, but I'm just sharing all this. Why? Because it ties into lust. If you only, let's say as an Israelite man or Israelite woman, you only have a desire for a nation that is not your nation. You only have a desire for that, right? That could be a form of lust inside of you. So we're going into every topic. I told y'all, I'm not holding it back. We're just going to talk the blatant truth, right? So different forms of sexual perversion, sex as a sport, interracial marriage, wasting seed of all forms. So we got to get into this, wasting seed, I'm sure many fellas who are watching this right now, when you've laid with a woman, you pulled out, or you wore a condom, or whatever the case may be. You took the morning after pill. Even the A word that I brought up earlier, right? Where the woman, you know, for lack of better terms, loses her child, so called. All that is wasting seed of all forms, right? Wasting seed. That is actually a sin in the Most High's eyes, because a man's seed is very important. A man's seed is very powerful. That's why there's benefits to sexual fasting, because you're keeping that life force inside of you. And you use it when the Most High leads you to use it as far as reproducing, right? But even when a man releases, he can feel the difference spiritually. He can feel, you know, his spirit come down a little bit. There still is a presence with the Most High, a relationship with the Most High, but you feel almost like that drained feeling, or just that feeling of, I've released and something came out of me. And I'm going to read a verse that actually supports that, right? But we got to keep in mind that the seed gives life. The seed of man gives life. Everything that has life has seed, right? Even fruits, trees, all these different things. Seed is very important, and the man carries the seed, so he carries life inside of him. That's why when a man releases, it's different than a woman. I'm just keeping it real. It takes more out of us because that creates life. And because it's so important, the Most High doesn't want us to waste that. He doesn't want us to waste that. And it's actually a sin to do so. But again, how we've been programmed, how would we know, right? We think everything is okay. Oh, this is just natural, I'm having sex and hey, I have an urge, so God understands. No, we got to understand that if a man has a wife, it's about focusing on the purpose of that. It's about creating family. It's about having his legacy as a righteous man be able to abound, right? Him to bring righteous seed into the earth, raise those children up the right way from when they're young. Have a woman, a wife that is of marriage material, of a very high virtue, a very high character. Read Proverbs 31. A man also should have a vision that he's led by, that the Most High gave him, and is a level of work he's trying to accomplish in life with the right helpmeet by his side that is supporting and helping him. Because the woman was designed for the man. So if you ask me, the right way to have it done is he's building something from the ground up that the Most High has given him. It could be a ministry. It could be whatever type of work the Most High has him do. And essentially, the woman will be working for him, not in Babylon. Now, we all are in Babylon. We're all in the world as it is today. So we all have jobs. We all have bills. We all have things to do. But essentially, the goal should be to work to a point where your woman can come off the job, right? And you provide her food and raiment, which is her clothing, right? You provide for her. You have a house that she can live in with you, right? And there's enough resources to be able to provide for her and the family and yourself, right? All of y'all together as a family, essentially. And the work that she does do, because she does work. It's not like the woman just sits home and just kicks her feet up. The work she does do is for the purpose that the Most High gave you. If she was given those 40 to 60 hours per week to the purpose that God gave you, right, and can be completely dedicated to that, how much more effective would you be as a man, right? How much more can be poured into the children, because both can be present for them, right? So I want to bring that to the forefront, that as men of God, we have to be men of purpose, men that are looking forward to the responsibility that the Most High has given us, and trusting his protection, his favor over our family, over our lives. When we are obedient to him in all the ways I'm talking about, right? Casting out those evil spirits, being obedient in sex, and having it reverence and worship the Most High instead of worshiping and reverencing evil deities. And what we do, his favor is over you. You want to bring your children into the world in an obedient way too, not through sexual perversion. You want to bring your children into the world by having the way you become one flesh with your wife or husband to be in a way that pleases God, right? Not in a way that worships demons or brings evil spirits into your life. So I just wanted to break that down. Now, the example that I'm going to share when it comes to this, that relates to a man losing, like when he releases his seed and he feels life come out of him, because that's what's going on. I'm going to go to Luke chapter 8, verse 43 through 48. All right. Luke chapter 8, verse 43 through 48. Luke chapter 8, verse 43 through 48. And a woman having an issue of blood 12 years, which had spent all her living upon physicians, neither could be healed of any, came behind him and touched the border of his garment. So she touched Yeshua's garment. And immediately her issue of blood stanched. And Jesus said, "Who touched me?" When all denied, Peter and they that were with him said, "Master, the multitude throng thee and press thee, and sayest thou, who touched me?" I just saying there's a whole bunch of people here, and you're asking me who touched you. How would I know? And Jesus said, "Somebody has touched me, for I perceive that virtue is gone out of me." When someone touched Yeshua, his spiritual strength was so high, he felt, and then someone was healed by touching him. He felt the virtue leave him. He felt that ability, that spiritual power leave him and go into that woman and deliver whatever was in her out of her. The same happens with a man when he releases. There's life that goes out of him and into the woman, and a beautiful spiritual process takes place. Verse 47. And when the woman saw that she was not hid, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared unto him before all the people for what cause she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. And he said unto her, "Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace." So because she believed in Yeshua and believed in what he could do, he allowed her to be healed. And the virtue came out of him in that moment, and he felt it. Okay. All right, guys, we're getting closer to the end. But next, we're going to go into Genesis 38, 6 through 10. And then what we read in Genesis is going to be supported by Jasher 46, 23 through 26. All right. So I'm going to pull up Genesis 38 first. Genesis 38. How y'all liking the stream so far? How y'all liking the topic? Are you getting something from this? Let me hear it. Let me hear y'all. That's interesting. Never thought of it that way. Candace, you never thought of what that way? You talking about the life coming out of a man, or which part were you responding to? All right, Genesis 38, 6 through 10. Virtue leaving Yeshua. Yep, virtue leaving Yeshua. Absolutely. Guys, go ahead and like the stream too. Show love to the stream. Genesis 38, 6 through 10. Genesis 38, 6 through 10. So we're going to see what God did when there was a man who wasted his seed. What did God do when there was a man that wasted his seed? Genesis 38, 6 through 10. And Judah took a wife of Er, his firstborn. Oh, I'm sorry, took a wife for Er, his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Er, Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. Now, right here, it doesn't say why Er was wicked in the sight of the Lord. Shabbat shalom, absolutely, Shabbat shalom. For those who don't know, the Sabbath is Friday night into Saturday night. Today is the Sabbath, and we're glorifying God right now. All praise to the Most High. And Judah said unto, So in verse 7, it doesn't say why what made Er wicked, why he was killed, right, by the Most High. But we're going to have that expounded upon in the book of Jasher, because then this will drive the point home a little more clearly. Okay. And Er, Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. And Judah said unto Onan, go in unto thy brother's wife. So Onan is Er's brother. So now God's telling, Judah, who's their father, is telling Onan to go into his brother's wife because his brother has just been killed by God. And Judah said unto Onan, go in unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed would not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground. He spilled his seed on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. So God killed him also for what? For wasting his seed. Now let's see why Er, the first brother, was killed. It just says that he was wicked in the Bible, right? But let's go into the book of Jasher. And for those who don't know, the book of Jasher is mentioned in the Bible in 2 Samuel chapter 1, verse 18, and 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 8, as well as Joshua chapter 10, verse 13. So the book of Jasher is a biblical book. We're going into the book of Jasher. I don't know if y'all can see because of the glare. The book of Jasher, chapter 46, verse 23 through 26. Chapter 46, verse 23 through 26. Jasher chapter 46, verse 23 through 26. Jasher 46, verse 23 through 26. And in those days, Judah went to the house of Shem and took Tamar, the daughter of Elam, the son of Shem, for a wife for his firstborn heir. So Judah brings a wife to his firstborn heir, right? And Er came to his wife Tamar, and she became his wife. And when he came to her, he outwardly destroyed his seed, which is what? What we call pulling out nowadays. He outwardly destroyed his seed, and his work was evil in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord slew him. And it was after the death of Er, Judah's firstborn, that Judah said unto Onan, go to thy brother's wife, and marry her as the next of kin, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan took Tamar for a wife, and he came to her. And Onan also did like unto the work of his brother, and his work was evil in the sight of the Lord, and he slew him also. So now we have that biblical account expounded upon, and we see that both brothers did the same thing. So essentially, they prostituted that woman that was supposed to be their wife. They didn't give her seed, right? Right? What did Leah say, right? I was given my hire, right? God says not to neglect a woman's duty in marriage. Part of her duty is to produce seed for the man and the woman to be fruitful and multiply. So when God says don't neglect her duty of marriage or pretty much hold her back from her duty of marriage, yes, there's a lot of things in that duty. There's multiple things that a wife can bring forth for a husband and support a husband with and should do, just like the husband has things he should do. But in that way, we could be neglecting the wife of her spiritual duty, which is to help that man bring forth seed in the earth. That is what a huge part of what marriage is all about. So in this world, we've been taught different things. And look at how when we remove the purpose of sex, right, which is when two become one flesh, that's marriage, right? You obviously make a covenant before the Most High. You ask God to bless that union, but God brought it together in the first place, right? What God brings together, let no man separate. So when you're doing this, you are performing marriage. You are, coming together with who the Most High brought you with or gave to you. So the way to honor that is to do what the Most High said to do in those scenarios, which is to be fruitful and multiply, right? So we shouldn't be wasting seed. Okay. So the last thing I'll get into is Job chapter 31, verse 1 through 12. And going back to the main topic, right? Going to the main point of the live stream is when we're not understanding these things, we're performing in lustful acts. We're bringing judgments upon us. We're having a reproach put on us by the Most High because we're doing things that we think are harmless. We're also not training our eye. We have to train our eye not to be lustful, right? Just like anything that you do biblically, you have to practice, right? So let's say I want to get better at holding my tongue, right? Because a wise man holds his tongue, as the Bible says. When you're in conversation, you're going to feel that impulse to jump into the conversation, to cut somebody off because you've done it umpteen times before the Most High revealed this to you that you should be more disciplined in your tongue. So you have to make an intentional effort to be successful at that. When it comes to the spirit of lust and lustful deeds and acts, sexual perversions and acts, things that are sin that are against the Most High, you're going to have natural impulses. You're going to have ways that your eyes wander. You're going to have ways that you go into the world, meaning your approach to the world when you go out. But you have to train and practice to keep your eyes single, and not have a desire for any of the things that I mentioned that would be a form of sexual perversion, a form of lust, a form of doing a sexual act that is against the Most High God, right? So with that being said, I'm going to read Job 31, verse 1 through 12. Job 31, verse 1 through 12. Job 31, 1 through 12. What do you guys getting most from this live stream? Let me know. What do you guys getting most? What's some things that are standing out to you? Okay, Job 31, verse 1 through 12. I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? So Job made a covenant with his eyes. He made an agreement and said, I'm going to train my eye a certain way when I go out into the world, when I'm living my life, right? I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above, and what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is not destruction to the wicked and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity? Does not he see my ways and count all my steps? If I have walked with vanity, or if my foot has hasted to deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity. If my step has turned out of the way, and mine heart walked after mine eyes, and if any blot has cleaved to my hands, then let me sow, and let another eat. Yea, let my offspring be rooted out. So Job is saying, if I did things against the Most High, let me be judged. Because a righteous man wants correction, right? It says a wise man will thank you for correcting him, but a fool will resent you. So Job is saying, God, I want to be so devoted to you and be obedient to you in the way that if I am wrong, let me know I'm wrong. And I deserve to be judged if I do something that is against you, right? Verse 9, if mine heart have been deceived by a woman, or if I have laid wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind unto another, and let others bow down upon her. So if I became lustful and I committed adultery by laying with another man's wife, let my wife be taken. Let a bunch of men deal with my wife, right? Verse 11, for this is an heinous crime, yea, it is an iniquity to be punished by the judges. For it is a fire that consumeth to destruction, and would root out all mine increase. So that pretty much, again, highlights how important it is to have a single eye, right? Yeshua said that if your eye is single and it's light, how great is that light? If your eye is single and it's darkness, how great is that darkness? Our eye represents our perspective, our intention, how we see the world. Is really essentially the mind's eye, right? So based on the condition of the spirit of your mind determines what your eye sees. It determines the nature of your eye, what your intentions are. And if we can make our eyes single for the sake of righteousness, we'll have God's favor in our life. If we're obedient, we will see the ways that he shows that he's pleased with it. if we're disobedient and our eye is single and it's darkness, we'll also see the judgment for that. We could be dealing with misfortune in our life and not know that it's connected to certain things that utterly displease the Most High. But if we know better, we can do better. So hopefully this live stream edified you. Hopefully it blessed you. If it did, please share it with someone else. Comment anything that stood out to you. Like the live stream. I appreciate y'all for watching. I'll talk to y'all next time. Freedom and truth.